Hi, I'm Cordia and this is the second episode of my tutorial series How to Draw Portraits. In the first lesson, we studied the basic proportions of an average face from the front view and also learned how to sketch from a reference photo by using the given information. Today, I'm going to compare the differences between an average male face and a female face while drawing them from imagination using the Loomis method. So let's see what makes a man's face look masculine and a woman's face look feminine. I draw the female face first since it has less detail and is easier to draw. As you can see, I start with a circle because the major part of the head is for the skull, which looks like a sphere. Then by drawing a vertical and horizontal line, I divide the circle into 4 parts. I divide the vertical diameter into 6 equal units and extend it down to 7 units by adding another one at the bottom, which has the width of one eye. So it helps me to find the thirds of the face easier. Chin to the base of the nose, nose to eyebrows, and the forehead. Halfway down of the height of the head shows the eye line, and 1/3 of the bottom third is for the mouth line. Now I can draw the outline of her face. For drawing the head shape, you can mark 2 points on the circle, a little lower than the hairline, and 2 points on the mouth line. Then connect these points and draw the jaw. Of course, drawing those guide points is not a rule. It just helps you with drawing the width of the head more accurately. Now let's add the facial features with drawing the eyes first. And these units help you with finding their accurate place because each one has almost the width of one eye. And also, that's the distance between eyes. A common problem that beginners always struggle with is not drawing the eyes symmetrically when they draw them from the front view. For solving this problem, you can simply use 2 rectangles as your guide. So when you're drawing an eye, you can easily find its symmetrical proportions on the other side. For example, if I draw a point here, its symmetrical point is here. You can imagine it like a mirror, so when you draw a line on one side, you can flip it on the other side. Also, these rectangles help me with finding the accurate place of the pupils because they are exactly in the middle of the rectangles, and the iris, which is about 1/3 of it. Then I draw the upper eyelashes that are longer, thicker, and more than the bottom lashes. And please remember to draw the tear ducts a little lower than the pupils. After the eyes, I draw the eyebrows, and again, these guidelines help me to draw them more symmetrically. Usually, women have thinner, higher, and curved eyebrows, so I try to draw them a little higher than the eyebrow line and arch them more, while eyebrows tend to have a straight shape in male faces. Next, I draw the nose, and I can find the place of the nostrils and nose wings by drawing 2 lines from the tear ducts to the nose line. You don't have to draw every single guideline and you can just imagine it, but here I draw them to show you what I mean. I think some shadow under the nose and around the nose wings is enough to indicate the form of her nose, so I don't spend too much time on this step. Now I draw her lips and I use the same way for finding the corners of her mouth, but this time I draw these guidelines from the iris to the mouth line. After connecting these points and drawing the mouth line, which is not a straight line, it's easier to draw the rest of it. I just try to make her lips look plump, but having full lips is not necessarily a feminine characteristic, so you don't have to do that. After drawing the face, it's time to add the ears, which their exact placement is in the middle third of the face. Eyebrows to the nose line. For drawing her neck, we can consider its width about 3 eyes for the front view, so it kinda lines up with the corners of her eyes. Finally, I draw the hair with drawing its overall shape first, and then using some rough shading, I show its form quickly. This video is not about drawing hair, so I don't get bogged down in details here. The length of the hair doesn't really affect someone's femininity or masculinity, so if the proportions are not correct, long hair is not going to fix that. Here's our first drawing. Now let's move on to the next one. I've already drew the basic guidelines, but the circle is bigger this time because men have bigger head than women, so this is the first difference. The second difference is the form of the jaw, which is larger, longer, and more squarish. So I tried to make the jaw wider by drawing those guide points a little farther from each other, which were closer in the female face, and the chin a little lower than its guideline to make it look longer. The difference between a male jaw and a female jaw is easier to see from the profile view. As you can see, the male jaw is more angular. Now we can add the features of his face. Again, I used the rectangles to help me with drawing symmetrical eyes, but this time I reduced the height of them because male eyes are not as round as female eyes. You don't have to draw eyes with rectangles, it's just a way of many ways for drawing eyes. Usually, the eyes are hooded in men, so there is almost no distance between the eyelid and the eye. And the lashes, which are downward, shorter, and also fewer compared with female eyelashes. He has a thin almond eye shape, and I don't want his eyes to look as big and round as female eyes. So I add some shadow to the corner of his eyes. But for the female face, I added the shadow under the eye. So notice that where you put the shadow can change the overall form of the eyes. Now we have the eyebrows, which are thicker, longer, and lower. So I drew them closer to the eyes. If this is the first time that you're here, I share my tips and techniques about drawing in this channel, so if you're interested to see more tutorials like this, you can subscribe to be notified about upcoming videos. And here I added some shadow around his eyes to give my drawing more depth. Now I draw the nose, which is slightly bigger with more angular nose wings and bigger nostrils. Since male nose has a more prominent nasal bridge, its planes are easier to see, so I tried to show this boxy form with shadows that have more defined shape. But for the female nose, these shadows were faded and didn't have a very distinct edge because their nose is rounder. And now I draw his lips. I use these guidelines again, and here I draw his lips thinner, but you can draw them bigger if you want. By the way, if you've been following me on Instagram and you wonder that what happened to that page, I actually lost it because of the filtering. So it took me a while to make another one and repost all of my drawings. That's why this page really needs your attention, and I'll be so thankful if you support it. Now I draw the jaw and the outline of his face, which doesn't have a V shape like women and looks more squarish. I drew the chin so long, so here I fixed that, but it still should be longer than a female chin. To show the structure of a masculine face, you can use shadows that can indicate the shape of its planes clearly. Shadows that have hard and firm edges, while these shadows are smooth with softer edges in a female face, and that's because they have fuller cheeks and less prominent cheekbones. That makes the planes in their faces look rounder. If you don't know where to put the lights and shadows, you can study the SRO head to understand the planes and the form of the head better. Now I draw his ears, which are not so different, so I don't change anything here. And for drawing his hair, I start with the hairline, which has a square shape, while it was rounded in the female face. The length of the forehead depends on your character, so you can draw the hairline a little lower or higher than its guideline. For shading faster, I used a pencil with a long lead that helped me to draw the overall shape easier. Finally, I draw his neck, which is thicker this time. Let's take its width about 4 eyes. So I can use the end of his eyebrows as a guide, while for the female neck, I used the corner of her eyes because her neck was about 3 eyes wide for the front view. Notice that the thickness of the neck depends on how masculine the character is, so it could be even bigger than this size. I add some shadows to show the muscles of his neck and the Adam's apple, which were not so visible in the female face. And even if it's visible, it is so subtle that the shadows appear softer. If you want your character to look more masculine, adding mustache and beard can make a big difference, and you have that as an option too. So you can see that usually a male face is described as having sharp, angular, and squarish features, while having soft, smooth, and rounder facial features are generally considered as feminine characteristic. Again, these are just average measurements. Not every woman has to possess all of these features to look feminine, and every man doesn't necessarily need these characteristics to look masculine. So that was our today's lesson, and I hope that you found it useful. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next video, bye.